There's no doubt that coaches, practitioners, and people doing movement assessments can write far more progressive and effective training programs for their clients if they've got a good understanding of the functional anatomy. Now, from conversations over the years with many different coaches, it's clear that not everybody has got a particularly confident understanding of the anatomy of the shoulder, and that's definitely going to have an impact on your ability to assess movement and write effective training programs. So in this video, we're going to take a bit of a deep dive into the scapula with a focus particularly on the bony landmarks. We talk about these a lot from a perspective of muscle origins and insertions, but if we can understand where the bony landmarks are, we can start to then create that visualization of our mind about where the muscles are sitting on top of that, and that helps us then to picture what is happening to the shoulder when we're thinking about movement and exercise selection. So you can see here that I've got my multicolored scapula. When I go through and tap the different areas of these bony landmarks, you're going to see them change color to a light blue, so you're going to be able to follow along with me. So let's dive into some real four quite straightforward ones, which are particularly important when we're thinking about upward and downward rotation of the scapula. So over here on the left-hand side, you're going to see the light green. This is our medial border. Imagine this one sitting on the closest angle to, or closest aspect towards the spine. So that's our medial border on the side there. Over on the opposite side, we've got our lateral border. That's going to be sitting more to the outside of the rib cage, underneath the armpit as it goes into that upward rotation pattern. So that's our medial and lateral borders. If we now think about top and bottom, down the bottom here in our purple color, we've got our inferior angle. And then up top here, right on this kind of spiky or pointy point piece at the top, we have got our superior angle of the scapula. Pretty straightforward. Now this big red one across the middle is the spine of the scapula, and that separates two spinous fossas. The bottom one here in green is our infraspinous fossa. You can remember that one, or you can link it together with what you know about the rotator cuff, because that's where our infraspinatus is going to attach. Above the spine of the scapula, we've got our supraspinous fossa, and that's where our supraspinatus is going to attach. So our two fossas on the back of the scapula, if we flip it around underneath, where we're thinking about this scapula sitting against the rib cage, we've got our subscapular fossa. So pretty straightforward, that is where our subscapularis is going to attach. So those are our major fossas. I'm just going to bring you up here now, and we're going to talk about a couple of these bony prominences on the top of the scapula. This guy here at the end of the spine of the scapula is our acromion process. Sometimes people get these two mixed up, but we've got the acromion, which forms the roof of the shoulder, if you like, or the top of that acromial space. Underneath there would be the humeral head, which we haven't got shown on the video today because I want to take you through the fossa in a second. And then finally, just on here before we move on to that, we've got the coracoid process, often referred to as the beak-like structure. And that's where we're going to have a muscle, such as pec minor, is going to attach into there to help us to be able to control the scapula in those positions. Now the final one to go through is this guy in pink here. That's the neck of the scapula, and then we're just going to finish off with this one on here, which is the glenoid fossa. That's going to be the socket, effectively, where the humeral head is going to sit into, and surrounding that is going to be our glenoid laborum. So that's a real quick tour around the scapula of those bony landmarks. I hope that helps you just to start to build that picture in your mind of where we've got these potential muscle attachment sites, and then therefore how that's going to link into different movements of the shoulder.